Thank you all for being here, and thank you, especially the four of you, for accepting this invitation to this gathering, coming this long way over the ocean. I want to say up front that there is so much to talk about that we will only manage to do what we can do in 1 hour and maybe a little more. So I ask for guidance for this panel, that those words will be spoken now that will serve us and the earth the most. And I would like to begin actually with LaDonna, to ask, in a way, a general question, but to ask, what is it for you? What does it mean for you defending the sacred?
My name is Tam Coker Daily, her good earth woman. I have no choice to stand up. What does it mean? It is our life. This is not something that happened last year. It is our life. We have been born to defend the sacred always. So for me, it's like this is our lives. As Native people, indigenous to our land, it is what we have to do. It is not a choice. How do you defend the sacred? First, in prayer. Second, in civil disobedience. Third, in non-violent disobedience. How do you do that? We have always done that. So for me, I want you to understand one point. I am nothing. I did nothing. We were always guided from prayer. What happened in this last year was prophecy. We are standing in the middle of prophecy. I am honored to be able to be alive to see this prophecy happen. Defending sacred has always been our lives. Defend our mother who clothes us and feeds us has always been our lives. To protect the water, who is the meaning of life, has always been something we had to do. And you guys understand that, right? Mini Wachoni, water is life. Oh wait, water is female. And if you are female, you must stand up for the water. Because it's through the water we bring life into this world. It is through the water we feed and care for our families. It is through the water the plants and the animals grow. It is through water that we feed our people. It is through water we live. So we have no other choice. How do you defend the sacred? We have no choice but to stand as women.
Thank you. Now I would like to ask you, you initiated this movement by inviting people to come to your place in April 2016. And it was this incredible convergence that happened there. What happened in this place, how did it alter the world? What is now looking back onto this experience, what is it that you take as the greatest transformation?
So, everything that happened this year was not us. It was these young people. It was the young people who said, water is life. It is the young people who sent their message out. It is young people that taught us something we don't understand, technology. It is the young people who said social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. It is the young people who sent the word across the world. It is the young people who stood up and said, we need to change. It is the young people who are our leaders. It is the young people's thoughts that started this movement. All that happened was I happened to be the closest landowner, and I invited these young people to come to start a camp on my land. And I want to make sure people understand that. It is this movement was started by the young people. Why is that important? And according to our culture, prophecy says, when the seventh generation stands up to heal the hoop, we will change the world. When the eagle and condor come together, we will change the world. When the black snake comes to devour the earth, we will stand up to save the world. All of these prophecies are what we're seeing now. And if you know anything, these prophecies are long. I'm shortening them up real short, because there are so much to them. And so when these young people stood up, we had no choice but to follow them.
Thank you. So on this point, I would like to hand the word to Takata. And sorry again for the general question, but I'm really curious what it was for you to be a young leader, being at the core of this movement. How did you get there? What was it like for you? What did you learn?
Hi everybody. My name is Tokata, and in our language, this word means future. And so I would like to start by saying, as a child and as the children who started this movement, we are the future. And I think that is one reason that all children can resonate with, is that we will be the ones to care for our Mother Earth when all is done. We will carry her into the future. And so what happened was, these people, they came to my school and they told me that they were building a pipeline through our land. And immediately I can see it in the faces of my peers. It was hurt, but it was hope. I could see it in their eyes. They told us, they said, we are going to make a video and we are going to try to send out a message. They said, but we need you to help us. And so me and some other classmates, we said, yes, absolutely, we will do this. And I think that is when this sort of turning point started, where I started to see my peers not just as other children, as future leaders of this earth. And so we made this video and we sent out a call for help. And never did I imagine that we would get this much attention, that this movement of peace, of water, of sacredness would be so loved by everybody. We did not say, you need to come out here. You must. We sent out a call for help, and the people responded. And so learning from this experience has been one of the highlights of my 13 years. And honestly, it's been so amazing learning how the children, as small as we can be, have this huge voice. People will listen to us because adults, they have children. They can resonate with how we feel. So I really believe that the children, they were supposed to come. As LaDonna was saying, this was prophecy. The children were always meant to rise. And this is how they do it. This is how they have done it. The movement, it grew so fast and so rapidly that seeing the love coming from these people, seeing how much they love this earth, this water, how much they were willing to come and sacrifice part of themselves to help us, it was a learning experience for me to see how much compassion there still is in this world, to see how much there is still hope for this world. A lot of times we see these sort of these things happening in our world and it's negative. Well, what about the things that are positive? The things like Tamera, the things like Standing Rock. Sure, during Standing Rock, there's still a pipeline, but look at all of you sitting here listening to me. It is this that I have learned from, that even if there is a loss, there is always a win, because you are here, and you are listening to what I have to say. And that, I think, is one of the most beautiful lessons that I have ever learned, is that even if something happens, we can still take it, learn from it, and move forward. And I think just at 13 years, being able to say that I've been a part of a movement this strong, this influencing, it's something that there are no words to describe. And I'm so thankful that I got to be a part of this.
Thank you. Can you say what it means for you, the sentence "water is life"?
So, as we all know, everyone in this room, everything outside of this room, needs water to live. Water is one of the things that we must have in order to survive, prosper, and live. It is life. Water is life. This exact phrase is sort of a breath of fresh air in a world where we get so wrapped up in all of our own lives and our own bubbles. Water is life is a phrase that brings us back to each other. Water is something that connects us all. We all have water in our bodies. We are all connected by this. Water is life is a phrase that means connection, that means we are all related, that means at the center, at the core, when all is done, we are all the same being. We are all a part of the same movement. And I've heard this phrase so many times, and it will never get old to me. Hearing water is life, it is like, yes, it's like, yeah, it really is. And so it's almost appalling to think that there are people, the same as you and me, made literally of water, trying to destroy it. It makes absolutely no sense. And as 13 years old, I can see that this is wrong. That maybe we shouldn't be contaminating the one of the things we need to live. And so I really believe that is why this movement was so important. Children speaking up about what they think is wrong, about what they see is wrong. And we can really see here that we have made a change. And I think just the inspiration of that is so beautiful. How many other movements has Standing Rock inspired? And how many more can we inspire together?
So this is something actually I would like to ask the two of you, LaDonna and Tokata, because the pipeline was built and the camp is not there anymore. Now, earlier LaDonna said you cannot tell going to this place that it was ever there. What do you feel in this moment? What is the way forward with all this experience you've had, for us to learn, for a planetary movement to learn? How do we take Standing Rock forward? I would like the two of you to answer both.
Huta, we've only just begun. Because what people are not seeing, what we're doing on the ground, because a physical thing is not there, and it should not be there. Camp is temporary. It is how indigenous people have always lived. We have come, we have lived, we have moved. And when we move, we want to make sure that everything is back to the way it should be on the land. So for me, an indigenous people, we don't need a permanent structure. What we need is a permanent thought. What we have is a permanent thought. Right now, we are working hard to do what we're supposed to do: connect, make allies and partners across the world. They said the camp is not there and the pipeline is in. Oh, wait. Now they're saying, we understand what you're saying. It was illegal. We understand what you're saying. You have rights. We understand now that in this moment in time, the sacred stands. And this moment in time, no matter what you think out there, Tukashla, the Great Spirit, the Great Mystery, is still in control. No matter what the world makes decisions on, there is still the center. So the camp is gone. Now we are in courts of law. Oh wait, we're winning there. When we stood up as Native people, it is not the first time. It is not the last time. It is not something that just happened in this time and space. It has always been. What does that mean? We have always and continue to stand up for the concept of life. When these young people said, Mini Wachoni, it resonated the whole world. Water is life. And so as I went to the UN, and all of these countries, I was listening to them speak as they spoke Mini Wachoni. I was like, oh my. When the people said, water is life, it resonated to the whole world. Oh wait, it has always been, water is life. It is not a new thing. It's a human thing. Because as human beings, we must live because of this. We cannot live without this. This is not a Standing Rock thing. It is a world thing. It is not a movement of this time. It is prophecy. It is stand up now because we have a right to live. And that is a common thing everywhere. It is not a native thing. It is not a country thing. It is a world thing. Because the mother of the world is crying. The grandmother of the world is crying. Who is going to listen to this whole center of water? Everybody.
So thank you. That was beautiful, and I never get tired of hearing LaDonna speak. So I think just because the camp has gone and there is a pipeline in the ground, because there's oil flowing, sure, the camp is gone, but is the movement gone? There is a global motivation happening here. Because of Standing Rock, we have awakened so many people. If each one of those people had said, okay, I'm done fighting because of this, because there's a pipeline in the ground, then we would no longer have a movement. But that is not what happened. People went home and they informed everyone around them that this had happened. So people wake up every single time something like this happens. We must take the bad and turn it into something beautiful. Turn it into a movement that awakens everyone on this planet. Because as LaDonna was saying, this is not a human thing. This is not just a native thing. This is a world thing. This is not just a Standing Rock thing. This is a world thing. Sure, this pipeline was on Standing Rock, but think about all of the places around the globe where the same thing that happened at Standing Rock is happening every day. We need to keep spreading this message of love, of peace, of unity, because that is the only way that we can move forward. We must take what has happened and use it as an example for places where this has not happened yet. Because sure, there is a pipeline in Standing Rock, but there does not need to be a pipeline where you live, where you come from. And as a young person, I have so much time left to help you wherever you are from. I have so much time to fight more pipelines. So I am ready to do this. So thank you.
Thank you.
Only just begun.
And just as you said this, our friends came in, and actually we will go to the ocean on Saturday to fight the oil drilling off the Portuguese coast. And maybe the two of you can say something about this, what this means for you to come here and to support this movement in Europe against oil exploration.
So, what did all this mean? Why are we here? What is the world thought? When they called and I looked at everything is interconnected. This is not this event. We are all interconnected. So when Martin called, who's Martin? When Shailene came and stood with us, she became connected to us. When her mother stood up with us and her daughter, they connected us to this event. I look at all of these connections as we go through the world, as the world is interweaving. When Chase's and Sarah stood up, their daughter was connected. When I look at all these interconnections, and all of these connections put us in this center. So, in this process, brought us each of these methods, these people. So each of these individuals sit here, we're connected. When Native people across the world were connected. When we are in this moment in time, it is the way it is supposed to be. We did not make any decision. Something greater than us made the decisions and put us in this space. When we came here to this place, it was not our choice. It was something beyond us.
Thank you. You want to add, Takata?
So I'm very excited for the action at the ocean. So wherever I am, I just feel like water. It makes me happier. So I'm so ready for this, and this action here, and for me being in Tamera, it has been sort of a sign of hope, a sign of globalization, a sign of moving forward. And because of everything that happened at Standing Rock, it is so good to see this. And this action here coming is another sign of this hope. It is showing exactly what I mean when I say that this is a world thing. This happened in Standing Rock, and this is happening all across the ocean in Portugal. And I'm here with you now to help stand up. And that is exactly what happened at Standing Rock. We sent out a call for help. and people responded. Now it is my turn to respond. And I'm so happy to be standing with you. And I hope that we can all come together even more and inform more people, help other places. So I'm excited to see you all.
And thank you for standing with us in this. I would now like to give the word to Pat. And in a way to go a bit, to look a bit more broader on the issue of what we call Turtle Island, or what you call Turtle Island. Can you speak to that term to explain what it means to you?
Well, I think what's important for me to say about that here is just that Turtle Island, to use that term instead of all the other terms that have come up, United States, Americas, is an honoring and I guess a reclamation of an understanding of the indigenous peoples of that land.
You are working in this work of kind of preserving that tradition, and also a work of healing the wounds of this unimaginably painful and criminal colonization. Yesterday you spoke very strongly in our group on what it was for you to kind of learn about how this, like what this healing could actually be. And I would like to invite you, maybe if you could say something for us, what you want to share about, in a way, what you have learned, but also what we can do to heal this global trauma of the colonization.
This is very, very tender territory. So first I want to explain why I'm going to say some of the things that I'm going to say. All of the history that some of us know about was very literally played out within my family, with residential boarding schools, with missionaries, with Western education system. And it was very close to coming to destroy me, in the sense that I couldn't see why I would want to stay here through that. So I sent a call out because I had two young people in my care, and I didn't want them to have to witness a destruction like that. So I asked for my life. And this is what I always say to young people now. I say, you've got to want your life. You've got to want it. And this is what I say to the elder people too. You also have to want your life. How can we ask them to want their life if you don't want your life? So I asked for that. And as they say, be careful what you ask for. So I was given that will to live. as this indigenous woman. I had heard that of a prophecy, and the prophecy said that one day the world would become very, very lost, and that one day the world would become hungry for life again. And when that happened, that they were going to turn around and they were going to look for us again. And they would want to know some of the things that we have held and that we know. So I believe we are right there, right now. I'm going to also bring up that in 2006, at a global gathering in Bali, in Indonesia, I got to hear Archbishop Desmond Tutu speak. And he was talking about the process of truth and reconciliation in South Africa. And it may surprise you to know that that wasn't a perfect process. There were many people who felt very hurt by that process because it seemed too easy. It was too easy. Even though it wasn't easy at all, but still it was too easy. So when I listened to Desmond Tutu talk about the truth and reconciliation process, so I wonder, what in the world could this look like in the United States with George Bush as our president? And he would not go for a reconciliation process like this. So how would we be able to create reconciliation? And I think to myself, why should we be stopped from our reconciliation processes because the institutions, the government, those methods are not willing? We have to move forward. We have to keep moving forward, because as I claim my life, I realize that I want to give life the opportunity to claim life. So that's a little bit of my process. I want to talk about the reconciliation that I know. So the world will come looking for us. And how will I meet the world when they come looking for us? Will I meet them by screaming my rage? Will I meet them by showing them that I have destroyed myself in sorrow? Spirit had another idea. But there was a very deep fire that I had to walk through. Hot fire to walk through, to emerge and be able to see and say. I was shown a vision of the hoop of life. It was floating over Canyon de Chelly, which is a canyon where I live, my people's home. And in it, I could see that there were many pieces of this hoop that were cracked. I could see that there were pieces that were crumbling. There were pieces that were missing. I could see my own people's portion of this hoop and the damage there. But what I really saw was that if any piece fell out entirely, the whole thing was going to fall. And so that's when the words, I don't know if they came from inside of me or outside of me or all of us together, but they said, if there's any sorrow to be had, it's for all of us to have. And if there's any rage to be had, it's for all of us to have. What I was shown before that happened was I was shown the details of the old history of when the soldiers first rode down on my people. And there was a voice in my ear for 2 years after they kept showing that to me over and over again, and I experienced a rage like I had never experienced before. And they said to me, do you still believe in peace? Do you still believe in equality of the races? And because that rage was burning still, I didn't answer. But after I saw that vision, that voice came again and asked me that question. Do you still believe in peace? Do you still believe in equality of the races? And at that moment, finally I could say yes. Yes, I do. And I feel like at that moment, the Spirit said to me, good. Because we have a lot of work for you. One piece that I will try to, I know I really want to hear from Chioka-san too. So, yesterday I spoke of a process, and that was that I went through another round of very deep fire vision. And this time it was about the land over here. And this was to witness what occurred during what I call it the so-called witch hunts in Europe. And I was told that it was an archetypal wounding of humanity that occurred at that time. But what I didn't know before that process was that these witch hunts were the destruction of indigenous Europe. And they went on for 300 or 400 years. And that means you fought. You fought that the same way that we are fighting. And I had this strange idea come to me that said, you know, maybe every blow that you took was one less that we had to take. And maybe because we got to take one less blow, we can sit here intact and say some words here today. Maybe. I don't know. The other thing that I saw was that all of those methodologies that were used to subdue and suppress this indigenous Europe, which, by the way, is not all gone, those methodologies were then sent over on the ships to us. And in those first visions that I saw of the soldiers riding down on us, what I never could understand was how vacant the eyes were of these men. They didn't know us. They had no quarrel with us. But they were doing terrible, terrible things. And what I came to see through that visioning was the possibility that maybe the reason that that was true was because those men were the sons and grandsons of the men who could not save their women's lives here. And when the men cannot protect their women, their children, their homes, what is sacred to them, it changes them deeply. And so the witch hunts were not only a deep violation of the sacred feminine, they were a very, very deep violation of the sacred masculine as well. We know in our communities what happens when the men are not able to defend. We know there's studies and methodologies being given to in African American communities for that same reason too. So when I begin to see how we are related in these same kinds of sufferings, I am able to open up even further to more possibilities. I was asked to say a word about forgiveness. So the world comes looking for us again. What is being asked of us is very deep. I don't mean to offend anybody out here or up here, but sometimes I say, that's Jesus status. To put it in some kind of relativity. But what I feel, my own experience, I should say, is that the ceremonies that we have held, that we hold, the ways that we have to care for ourselves, to purify, to surrender, to be able to come to the end of our own resources and open up to that beautiful great door of the mystery and allow that mystery to take over where we leave off. Those pieces are what makes it possible for us to sit right here, even right now. And so I call upon that medicine to bring together all that would continue this life. In the sacred way. In the sacred way, meaning that is moving with the movement of life. So we are sharing a common fate. It is not for me to withhold the possibility of life for the five-fingered ones. That is certainly not for me to do. So these are some of the ways that I work with it. The pain that I have held personally, part of the way that I work through it is to keep zooming out and zooming out and zooming out. And trying to look at truth from up here. Sometimes I can't look at it right here. I have to come up here. So I know that every one of us sitting here is in a different place with that process. So I can only say that I'm speaking about my process here. But I appreciate that opportunity.
Thank you very much. At last, I would like to hand the word to Tiokasin. This morning, we heard about this system change from domination to cooperation. And you come from a culture that doesn't know the word domination. So what is what can you share with people whose whole culture is based on domination about how we can make that shift?
Shante washte na pechu zapielo. Le unkipiki he washtelo. It's good for all of us to be here, and I greet you with good heart and handshake. The Lakota people, as always. And what I'd like to say is, learning a great lesson just less than 2-3 hours ago, going the long way around to get to a pre-meeting with these powerful women in front of me, and so I'm taking a long way around to get to the cultural center. Like I was going to take me 15 minutes or so, and I stopped and offered tobacco and looking out. What is that? It's a canoe. And it's Tokata. Tokata is taking a canoe shortcut across the lake. I'm sitting there going, why couldn't I take that? So it's that lesson. It's like, wow, here I'm taking the long way, and she just came up with this idea all by herself and go right across. So it's always those lessons we learn in the elders. You see, and that the seventh generation must continue, always continue, always continue. It's just not, for me, it's not just one, because when I was a young man, little man, he said, you're the seventh generation. In order to get to the seventh generation, there needs to be a seventh generation, right? And each of us has our own intelligence to get to that seventh generation. And it is about that prophecy that really, I think it's the space that's there with Mother Earth when LaDonna and Tokata talked about the earth crying, calling out, came through Standing Rock. The cry for earth came through Standing Rock in that sense, and so many other indigenous peoples, and Ati talked about it in our circles this morning and yesterday about what's going on in Colombia. And all those places that the system is breaking. And I thought about this, okay, how long have I known this? All my life, but I really didn't see it in action until I sat in a place. And I say this because I think the women softened what I have to say now. Is that I was 6 years ago, I went with 2 elders from the Lakota Nation in Pine Ridge. And we had journeyed over to to Poland. And we went into 2 camps, something that was modeled after the reservations in the United States. Prisoner of war camps, we still have those numbers. It's still in our enrollment cards. But I sat there after a day long of repeating and words and people's names and things, and coming to the center and doing our ceremony, our wiping the tears ceremony, and I was the helper. And so at that time, the elder, we sat down in a lounge, just like there's a lot of lounge chairs around here, and I asked him, and he was ready for it. I said, in the Lakota language, is there a word for domination? Is there a concept for domination? No word, no concept. And he explained it this way. In a relational language of Mitaku Oyasi, where everything is related, nothing can be dominant. Because you, as you heard me last night say, peace with earth. There cannot be peace on earth because we've tried that for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, thinking that we could dominate earth, that she was made for property ownership for us as the human species. So when we came to think about domination, what did it play out in the West, in the Western minds all over the world? What it played out in, what I my studies was the first black snake was all the black tar highways they laid down throughout the world in the United States called super highways, all the asphalt that they put everywhere, the intricate web on the surface of the earth. Then they built 2.2 million dams within the United States to cut the flow of water off the Mini. Then last week, there was something like 2.5 million miles of pipeline already laid within the borders of the United States. So then I think, okay, this is a domination. It doesn't have a name like patriarchy or matriarchy. It's the mindset that has come and made it okay to accept that this is the way of all the earth. So therefore we say it's human nature, when I know it's not all human nature because of domination and ownership. So when you have a relative language, you speak for all that is out. I didn't know what I was going to say, so I went out to Mama Earth and asked her, which I do. Because the work I do, it involves a lot of individualism to go out, and so what do? I relate to my mother, your mother, everyone's mother. So I go out and ask her, what do you want me to say? Do I say it with concepts, or do I say what I feel from the upload she's giving to me? And that's, to me, the most surest way that I speak to her in the little Lakota that I know, because I'm not an expert. I think about the work that I've done to help the Lakota people, because that's what we do. But beyond that, not just the people, because that's what we're supposed to do, but because even the word Lakota means to pay attention, to be related to Mother Earth and do the work for her. Because when we do this in the traditional way that I'm taught from the Itazipchola, the Humpapa, the Lakota, the Minikoju, that I am, what happens is, when you ask Mother Earth, traditional ways, you are asking her for all that is. So when you ask her for all that is, you understand that your fellow beings, in this case the Lakota people, are also asking for you. Therefore, you remove the I and the me from the center of it, because it's all about the relationship, and you become unified. And you don't need connection, because you're already related in unification. So what came along was the domination thought process that we are in control of resources, but yet the source of life cannot be controlled by the domination. So even grandpa would say, there's no word for share in our language. I'm like, what do you mean? Isn't that a good thing? She said, no, it's a possessive thing. So you can have a little bit of this, but the rest is mine. See, I shared with you. I said, well, Mother Earth is a giver. Mother Earth is not a caretaker. Mother Earth is a caregiver. So when you learn to give as a Lakota people, we have nothing left. When you have nothing left, it's only then that you know how to give. And that's the first value of the Lakota Native people, is generosity. But what is giving? Is it controlling resources? Is it money? Is it knowledge? Or is it our experience with Mother Earth? To speak the languages of the trees and the water and all that which is. We talked about water earlier, mini. When we have ceremony, we say mini wichozari. basically to your health. But when you speak to water, when you hear her, what she's doing is that it's speaking to that whale, who's speaking to the whale in another ocean. Because sound, Winiecki, prayer as you would call it, travels 4 times faster through water than you hearing me now. The ultimate communication consciousness device, if you will, the spiritual entity, speaking your words that you feel here. So even so, I was seeing what was going on at Standing Rock. It's like, oh yeah. So the last workshop Pat and I did at Schumacher, says, yeah, you know what we're doing at Standing Rock? We're out praying them. We are out praying them. Because every day that I was there, that's all you heard. I took a quantum physicist and a person studying Thomas Merton, and 2 older retired men that they totally are conceptual in the head and formulating everything. And they followed me around like puppies because they couldn't think, because they could only feel. So the first thing I did was give them some water. So when I think about domination in its primal age, what Pat described as wiping out all the earth people here and that connection that you have, and thinking that you still need domination in order to set property lines and stuff, can you call that reality? Well, it's your reality, but in relativity, it makes no sense. So unification, the unification they talk about, really, with all things. So what we have is, yes, the young people, but one, and let me finish with this, because I know it's a long day, but when I was doing interviews, radio interviews, I must have did 50 or 60 radio interviews about Standing Rock. And one phrase touched me. A Lakota woman from Sichangu, Rosebud, said this. She said, Tiokasi, the time I was spent at was Standing Rock and with the water and ceremony. The process that I see in the evolvement, not the progression or development, but the evolution, not the revolution, but the evolution of spirit was set in place. And it can't be ever stopped. There will never be a revolution, there will always be an evolution. So she said, spiritual people came to Standing Rock, they learned how to be activists. And activists came to Standing Rock and they learned how to be spiritual. And she said, it set everything in motion. It makes logical sense, spiritually logical sense. Because I think as Native people, you know, from my viewpoint is that I can't save the world. You can't save the world. Mother Earth is already doing that. We just allow her to do that without domination and thinking that we own her. And stop saying our Mother Earth. You belong to her. And you know that. So it's all in your language. Your power, do the etymology of your language, because it's there. It's in the tree roots consciousness that we have here. Well, you've been taught grassroots mentality. Tree roots consciousness goes deep. Our prayers are so deep, our food goes all over the world. It's in your DNA. Our prayers and ashes and bones, DNA comes to you in our form of the 80% of the world's food that comes from the Western Hemisphere. You eat now. We eat it on that table. Now it's speaking to you, that consciousness. So now it's your turn. It's almost like we've been waiting for you all that time. And in that way, welcome, not to the new paradigm, the new narrative, the new world, the new discovery, but to the continuum that we are on. Welcome back. Okay.
Thank you very much for the four of you, for all what you shared. And I can just say this was an opening. We are in the second day, and we will have more space for sharing. So thank you for this beginning.